Hi everybody. Let's see here. How's everyone? It's kind of weird that we have to stay at home for such a long time, but this is not my first rodeo because I was in Taiwan when SARS broke out the first time. So I kind of enjoy being at home for extended time. At least this time I have some freedom. Last time I was in the army, actually, we were locked down for 2 months. That was really terrible. But anyways, today we are going to do a little bit of a value study exercise. And for those who don't know what value study is, we are going to do a little tutorial today. And thanks to Sentient Academy, we have a big library full of good learning content. So we'll kind of play a little bit of the video from Brian Mark Taylor's value study clip, and we just kind of learn a little bit about what value study is and why we want to do such a practice, because a lot of you probably are more advanced or even professional level, but at the same time I will show you in this hour what value study can do for you. And I actually went back to do a lot of value studies in preparation for one of the portrait study I did here, and I'll show you that, and you can tell the difference in the effect of this value study. So let's take a look at this little video. Okay, let's see here. Okie dokie. This is our Sentient Academy website. So let's go find the course. Let's see. I have so many courses here. Some of you are probably already in Brian Mark Taylor's landscape painting course, and there are a lot of exercises that seem simple but actually is quite hard. We're going to week 4, dynamic value pattern. Let's see. I think this is where we want to get started.
Simplify it, and this way it really forces you to go down as simple as possible. So what I've done is I've just taken black and white and I've mixed 3 distinct values, but I've mixed them based on the image that I'm looking at. And what I want is not that you just make a black value and a white value as 2 your values and then something right in between. That's not really super helpful. What I do want is to is to look at the image and look and see if you can get an average of each of those areas, and so you can kind of anchor them in kind of the right key. So this image, we're going to start with something really simple and then add more complex images as we go along. So the first area that's dark is down here in this horizon. So I'm just going to go, and now I know there's value variations and things there, but that's not what we're after. What we're after is also the kind of the proportions of each of those 3 areas, making sure that they're different. So the drawing and the shape of these areas, you can really kind of dial in and focus on them a little bit more. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to balance the the moon over in this location with this hill right here on this side, in order to create a little bit of just a very subtle kind of almost Zen-like balance to it.
So as we can see here, he simplified the value down to just 3 values, and we reserve black and white, the 2 extreme on the value scale, and we just mix 3 steps here. And you can see that white is not pure white. It's there's a little bit black in there, and then you have a mid-tone. And what I learned from not just Brian and also Michael Mom is, when you are doing your simplified values, you want to make it simplify in a way that you will be able to read the value well. So almost like you separate the light and dark families. So you can see here there are two values in the light family. There's the lighter one and there's kind of a mid-tone, and then you have a dark family. So that is what's going on here. And we're gonna be doing some exercises here following this lesson. And one good thing about doing this open office hour, I call it, or studio hour every week, is to help our students to know how to use our online course and do some practice. Because we need to understand one thing is, by just watching a video, and some of you may have binge watched a whole bunch the other day on our open house, but if you don't do exercise or even take a deeper dive into each topic, even though it may seem really simple, but there's a lot to learn, and it's not like you do it once or twice then you can move on from this course. I actually did a whole bunch of them, and every time I do it I struggle, but at the same time I learn something new. And that's the purpose of this new weekly studio hours from now on. And I kind of rotate the times. It's every Wednesday, but today's at 1 p.m. and next week will be at, I think it's 4. Just go to our website, you will see the event schedule. And I would like to encourage you to tune in, and it's a way for us to get to know each other. Q&A if you have any questions, not just art, but also about the academy, or say we have the business course. It's an open hour for everybody to ask questions. And of course, if you want to learn more, just sign up. But right now we've seen enough. And let's see, I think later on he did another one back here, and we'll see what he is teaching us here. So you can see here on our platform, you will be able to change the play speed if you want to speed up or not.
So here, look at this space and that space. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't halfway. Let me make sure. One more time.
So you can see Brian here is measuring as he's working.
Just measure with your brush. Yeah. Okay, we're just below half, which is good. And then we've got this space here. Okay, a couple areas that are dark. I may want to throw those in now, at least this one. So we've got this kind of seeing this painting.
This is what I want you guys to hear. This is very important part.
They're essentially seeing this. And so this is a really good exercise to help you realize that, hey, these are dark against this lighter, bigger shape. And if you had this little grisaille study next to your painting, once you add color and everything, it's just a great reminder that no, that's not white in here. Those are mid-tone, and keep you from making a major error. Because when somebody first sees your painting, they are essentially seeing this. In a split second, they first see this sort of read, and then they start to see all the details and stuff like that.
So what we're doing here is we're doing a master copy. This is Josh Clare's painting from our workshop the other day, and it's a live workshop. So if you missed it, you'll be able to get the workshop recording from Sentient Academy website. And what we're doing here is just copy the value pattern, not all of the colors. So what we did is we simplify it to just the value pattern. So you see there's the light and dark, kind of like what we talked about earlier, the light family and dark family. So what I did is I desaturated, took all the color out, bump up the brightness and contrast to get to this point. And that's where we're trying to get to. And this is Aaron Scher, our newest artist. This is a pastel painting. He does oil painting too. And it's just amazing how he was able to capture that really intense color in the sunset. So if we have enough time, we can try this one. It's quite challenging. but I did the same thing. I desaturated, take out all the colors, and then basically just separate the values to just 3 values. So here we go. And if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat to ask questions. Now we are going to switch it over to the easel and do some painting. I'm excited because I never get to paint anymore, but hopefully these weekly studio hours will help me to get back to painting again. Okay, so let's get back to the library. Oh, by the way, you see here, these are the live events. If you click on the event calendar, you'll see these are the past events you can watch for free, and these are the upcoming events. And also there's the studio hours, you can keep track of it. And if you are into more of a art business training, here's the schedule. We can click on events on the top to get to that. So this is how you can learn from Sentient Academy. Is once you have your courses loaded, or you purchase the courses, they'll be in your library, and you can go in there and just pick what you want to learn. So let's look at what we can do with value study exercises.
Okay, for the exercises that I recommend for value pattern, I demonstrated 3 values in the video, but I want to show you 4 value and 5 value. And you can see with just 4 values here, here, and then 5 values here and here, you can get all the values really you need to make a composition. And it's important, even though when we go further with these paintings that you'll add subtle variations and stuff like that, they really need to read at this level, because if the big shapes aren't working, the smaller shapes will just make the image even more confusing. For example, if we start putting a lot of little lighthouses here, or we start putting big highlights on this, or pepper this area with trees, or we add maybe too many highlights in this dark band here or up on this tree, because it will start confusing the image. In this building here, you could put all kinds of little details and stuff like that to really, if there are windows in there, you make them too dark. You want to keep the integrity of that big shape. And these big shapes really read well and create a nice design that when you pile on detail and maintain these values in your final work, you're going to have a much stronger piece. This is the sort of exercise that, again, it's not something that you graduate from. It's something you want to continue to do and continue to work on, because it's these little simple statements that can give you a guide when you're tempted to put in a highlight, whether or not it's a good idea. So for instance, if I start putting a bunch of details and highlights over here, it will start confusing, drawing your eye over here instead of the area that I want to have that major focal point. So you don't need a lot of values in order to kind of tell that story. As you can see in these things, they read well from a distance, and so we want to keep that sort of idea in our head, that simplicity, so that when we go into more complex sorts of textures and things like that, that we don't get out of whack with our values. Okay, one final thought that I'd like to mention that would make life a lot easier for you when doing these value pattern studies is to either pre-mix your values, or you can buy these Portland grays, is what they're called, from Gamblin Paint, and they are mixed to tubes of specific values. So we've got a 4, a 6, and an 8. And of course you'll have white, and you'll have a chromatic black, and so you can have kind of a full range every other value. The only one they don't make is number 2, so you'd have to mix that if you needed it. But it's just a way to have really clear, simple values so that you can do these rather quickly. You don't have to spend a lot of time on it. It's just more about understanding how to simplify certain passages so that you remind yourself to keep things really clear. And I found these Portland grays can be really helpful in just speeding that process up.
Okay, so now it's time for you to do some exercise. Okay, so what do you guys think? Is this helpful? Let me know, and also you can let me know what kind of exercises you are interested. we have, from landscape to still life to portrait painting or drawing. I'm not really good at drawing, so I'm kind of scared to do office hours like that. Maybe I'll find someone who's really good at drawing and we can do a little virtual office hour with some other artists. And I know our artists like Brian and other ones, they when they have time, they could join in, just dial in, or maybe through video conferencing to answer some questions in one of these office hours. So if you want to let's look at our process today. So first we did a Josh Clare's master copy of his snowbanks, this landscape painting he did for our online workshop, and the recording is available. So if you want to look at all 4 landscape paintings he did for the workshop, go check it out. And what I did here is I desaturated and just bump up the brightness and contrast to give me a good value pattern. And that's kind of cheating. If you want to really challenge yourself, just go straight from here and make your own judgment to do a master copy, but just focus on the values. And like we talked about earlier, the darker side of that dry brush over there, you need to make your own decision. And same as other ones, you make your own decision to call it either light or shadow. Okay? And here's Aaron Scher's landscape pastel, and we did the same thing to kind of cheat it a little bit and just to demonstrate the idea, right? So when you go out there to paint from real life or from photograph, if you're not very familiar with the value study, you can do something like this just in Photoshop, or I just use Canva to do the editing. And actually we have 5 minutes. Why don't I show you what I did? So if you go to Canva, and you can see you can do all kind of cool stuff here, right? So there's the picture. You can put in any picture in here, and you can just go to adjust. First you desaturate it, and you can play with the contrast. I just went all the way up because I'm really limiting the values, right? So you can see if you drag it down, everything's gonna get all blended together. So you just gotta find a good balance to say, okay, I am separating my values to almost just 3 values. Of course there's more here, but your decision is much easier for you to make now to separate them. And that's what I did with this image. So do it again. If you go to canva.com, this is what you're gonna get. You can put in your pictures, and you can go to adjust and desaturate it and bump your contrast up. And if you want to call that good, you can call that good. So that actually looks more like my decision over there a little bit. So the glare kind of killed it, but you see there. And then if you look at our picture that we're working on, so you see I'm just capturing that dark pattern and then the light. So I think my light value, it's a bit too dark here, so I'll probably bump that up a little bit more to make it a little bit lighter. So anyways, that's it. That is our value study for the week, and I would like to see you do some exercises like that. And of course you can go to our community and just post your exercise there. So we'll see you next week.